It's a really difficult job. In my life, one of the things I have to work on constantly is to try to make every day different than the day before and the day after. And sometimes I'm very good at doing that, and life seems like it is just moving right along, and sometimes I get stuck in a rut and every day seems like I already lived it. Now we have a couple little projects to work on while we're waiting for our muffler to come for the FZR. But they're all little one-day projects, and I was glad to get Glenn's job done. It's still out there drying. Glenn, you could pick it up whenever you want. But here's what happens. Now that we're in the gardening season, Karen adds another interesting thing to every day. And pretty much I'll work on motorcycles I always try to do 4 hours a day. What happens if I do more than 4 hours a day? It gets a lot like work. 4 hours a day seems like the right amount, and that allows me to have, especially this time of year, 4 hours a day to work in a garden, hang out with Miles, go to Little League games, or whatever. Or do the maintenance on these old motorcycles that seems endless. And in my case, some of the bikes, 4 of them, are over 25 years old. They have historic plates. And one of the things, bikes that age need a certain amount of maintenance and attention. So if you have a small collection of motorcycles, you already know. The maintenance on one motorcycle, not that big of a deal. 2 or 3, you get a lot of stuff you got to remember. And as you get to up in the numbers, it gets pretty overwhelming. So what I always try to do as a matter of habit is to try to find things that look like they're going to break before they break. I try not to let the chains wear out to the point that they wear out the sprockets and they get unreliable, and try to replace things before they get unreliable. That's a good way to put it. Now just yesterday we had a spectacular day. We had the best of all worlds. We had a ride on the RD, we did some work in our garden, we got to feed the fish, and we got to see Miles at a Little League practice. It was the best of all worlds. And as my good friend Dave Midgley so many years ago explained to me something that has stayed with me for my whole life, that the hardest thing of all, when you have a lot of hobbies and passions, is to keep everything in balance. Now one thing the fish don't seem to mind in the morning, I usually start off the day feeding all my animals, my barnyard animals and my fish. They don't seem to mind if something's out of balance. As long as it's extra food, I like to keep in balance. The other day when we planted Karen's garden, it's the beginning of the year, and our wisteria is blooming away. That's beautiful. And it is a totally cloudy day that they're predicting rain all afternoon. So rather than try to sneak another ride in, I had a ride yesterday. We're going to spend the day. Karen made a corporate decision. We're going to try to get a hydrangea for the middle of this garden and hit the garden centers today. So it's our ultimate goal, of course, to minimize at this point in the year when we start working on the garden, get rid of all our motorcycling projects, and Glenn's now that it's done. We get the last one is going to be the mirrors, and we're done for the year. Now, I had a great little tip I wanted to show, and I did it already, and it worked great. I have these gloves, and I was wearing these the last time I had that little accident, and I didn't chew them up bad, but they did take a little bit of a beating. They really do protect your hands. This is the main thing. My hands are important to me. I work with them every day. So I like to wear, every time I possibly can, the MotoGP gloves. The problem with the MotoGP gloves, they're a pain in the ass to put on and off. They tend to get tight right about at the middle here. So I've stretched them, and I've showed that on video. I used heat, and I used the hardener can, which was just about the right diameter. But I also like to keep the leather as soft as possible to prolong the life of the glove and just make them more comfortable. So this is the product that I've used for many years now, and it's a really good, high quality. A can is about 15 bucks. It'll last forever, of course. It gives you the directions for what not to. You can't use it on suede. It's got beeswax in it, among other things. And you don't want to put it on cold leather. What you want to do, since this is made for leather, and MotoGP gloves are basically leather. I'm not sure you'd put this on Home Depot gloves or anything. But anyway, a little bit of maintenance, just like the maintenance on the motorcycle when you have, and these gloves are very old. I've had them since the days I was doing track days all the time. And that, I like to preserve them. It's, you know, every time you have to replace the gloves, it's a lot of money for these gloves. I think these were $200. I don't even remember. But anyway, preserving things and taking care of old things and giving little tips, sharing information is something I enjoy doing. So anyway, that is a good product. You can get it from Amazon. I think it's about 15 bucks the last time I bought it. You want the leather to be a little bit warmer than room temperature. Now in my case, because I've had, maybe I've never mentioned this or I haven't mentioned it lately, I've had surgeries on both hands for my fingers. And so having comfortable gloves is a really important thing for me. Really important, in fact. So I like to warm this up just a little bit. And by the way, this stuff is, to me, if you take care of, if you ever played baseball, you know what this is. It's NEATSFOOT oil. And the newer versions of NEATSFOOT oil have other chemicals in them that really work well. Now, you don't need a ton of this. You don't take a bath in it, but I take a paper towel. And actually, anything, you can see it comes out, it's relatively thick. And what it does, if you put it on carefully, again, I don't want to take a bath in it, but I want it to be sparingly on. It'll soften up the leather a certain amount. Remember, if you have vinyl gloves, it's not going to do much. It's not going to do anything, in fact. It's really good on if you have real leather boots. Of course, some people have no leather boots. They have vinyl boots or whatever, but it cleans the leather a little bit too. Now, I don't put it on, some people do, on the inside, the palm. It's because this is the part that's going this way, so I don't need to soften the palm up. But it's the rest of the fingers and everything, having them softened up, and it does a good job of cleaning. Again, the whole trick is just get the leather just a little bit warmer than room temperature, not hot. And you can preserve an old set of gloves that, first of all, they'll look brand new. And in the morning, if you let this sit overnight, in the morning, they'll be just a little bit softer and more compliant when you're using the controls. It's a really good tip. It works every time. Now, it's also good every once in a while, especially on a jacket that you may ride in the rain. And around this part of the country, there's almost no way on earth, even when our weatherman says is no chance of rain, about 1/3 of the time you get rained on at some point in the ride. So this tends to waterproof it just a little bit better, a little bit nicer, looks a little bit cleaner, keeps the bugs from sticking. It's just a good product to have if you have leather stuff, and the boots, of course, goes without saying. Takes about 5 minutes on a day like today when we're just waiting to get geared up to go shopping for plants. What could be more fun? At least Karen enjoys it anyway. I enjoy it. What am I lying about? A liar I am. I do enjoy going to the garden center this time of year. I wish it was a nicer day, but it's not even a day I would consider riding today because I got a nice ride yesterday. And if you have that balance in your life, and for me it's about at the 4-hour-a-day motorcycle, the break-off point. But I know people that 12 hours a day, and maybe sometime they're frustrated that that's not enough. Anyway, we get our leather goods all polished up here and then head out to the garden center. You think of how much money we all have invested in our riding gear, and I'm not any better or worse than the average person. By the time you add up the price of the boots and the jacket and the gloves and all the other, if you're doing track days, all the safety stuff, and so to maintain it, it just makes sense. It really makes sense, in fact. And I personally, I know it's subjective, I personally do not like the homeless look that a lot of people strive for when they dress for a ride. Anyway, just look at this. Here's one boot, cleaned up, and one Homeless? Not homeless. Not a good analogy, but anyway, I thought I'd get this done before we head out. That's what we need before we go shopping. Shopping for plants, more coffee. What else could be better? This always makes the planting season go better. You sure these birds don't drink coffee? I'm gonna put a cup of coffee out there for them. So what Karen and I usually do is we have about 6 garden centers in our area. Some of them have ponds, some of them don't. And they're just starting to bring out the stuff now. So it's like being in Motorcycle Mall with the Pokey's checkbook. This is how the day starts. You got the best coleus we saw at the whole garden center. The pick of the litter. This looks like the last of the places we're going, Van Wingerden. Beautiful, beautiful stuff they have here. So it looks like our shopping for plants day is getting cut short by some really heavy rain. So we're home despite the rain. We did get a van load of stuff for our planting. And all that's left is for me to go back into Farmer Brown mode here. And we still got to get our hydrangea. And even the hanging baskets worked out great here. Now, I know you're not interested in watching me dig in the dirt all afternoon, so we're going to put some video outtakes from our video library. And boy, the day is hanging tough, but we got to get digging. The Farmer Brown has to go get his shovel. Anyway, I hope you enjoy these outtakes. These are all from our video library. I thought I'd take this opportunity while we're looking at some of the footage from a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, I'm not sure. This is old footage. And describe, as a way of sharing useful information, share some of the things I've learned over the years about shooting my own video. Now, this is really something I think would be useful information. On a day like today, it's 90 degrees. It's really sunny. The real inexpensive cameras like this footage was shot with. This was shot with a $14 camera. They don't have an adjustment for blocking out the sun. The better cameras, the one I have now, they have an adjustment with several settings, so you can, in essence, get rid of some of this. Like for instance, right here, the road is white. Road isn't white, it's black. See how as soon as you come into the shade, you can see, and this is the purpose of adding this video. And I had a nice panoramic view, but it's washed out by the fact that I can't adjust out the light out of the camera. Now, of course, all of the bikes have several places to mount cameras. This is a view I like a lot, but watch what happens to the color of the road. As you go into the shade, it's fine. You come out into the sun, it turns into a color that's not realistic, it's white. So if you're shooting your own video and you come up with this problem, if your camera has a setting for darkening up or at least getting rid of some of the light, you see even here the grass is washed out. And these are things I worked on years ago because, again, remember, I'm not a professional photographer. I don't have the skill set of doing that. What I'm doing is with basic, inexpensive equipment. Now here you can see, and what I always focus on is the road. When the road turns white, the scene is overexposed. Now here the grass is even a little overexposed. And I think that's useful information because a lot of my friends, pretty much all of them except for a few, have cameras and enjoy shooting their own video. Some of them share it, and I always ask them to share more. Or in some people's cases, they just want to see how easy it is. It is super easy to shoot video. And if you have a camera, like as I've said before, the $14 cameras that I started with, and I probably have 10 of them now. For various reasons, I was using 3 on the bike at one time. I experimented and I went back into the file to see how many in the drawer I have extra cameras. But the one I'm using now, the SJ Cam, has an adjustment so that the more recent footage, I would know when I edit the footage down, if it's this sunny, I would block it out, drop it down one setting to make it darker, and on a cloudy day I can make it lighter and make it look like it's less cloudy. So having that adjustment, this footage is excellent for demonstrating what I'm trying to demonstrate. We learned a lot about this when we were shooting track days, and you'd see that the track, which you know is black, would turn white and then go back to being gray and then black. White, gray, black. Well, when you get the camera set right, or if you have the adjustment on your camera, you're really way advanced from a person that just has the $14 camera. But of course, we did shoot a lot of footage. On a day it's not this sunny, it doesn't matter. The footage is fine. But the purpose of showing this video and trying to do the microphone over it to try to add the information is, if you're looking at your own footage, and it can be even pictures, the best way that I've learned to do this is look at the road. Forget about everything else. The trees don't seem to matter as much. When the road turns white and then turns like, here's the real color it is, and then it turns white when you go into the sun. See, a lot of times I was shooting with 2 cameras, one in the front, one in the back at the same time. So some of the footage going into the sun was washed out. And then when I'd turn around and look at the same footage with the camera on the back, it wasn't dealing with shooting into the sun. And here you are again, going in through the shadows, everything's fine. You get out in the bright sun. And since we do shoot a lot of footage in the middle of the sun, well, the sun is out. It's basically simple as that. Now the SJ Cam that I use now, I'm one setting off the middle for darker. And I found that works okay even on a cloudy day. When I've gone 2 clicks over, what happens is then if it's cloudy, it looks like I'm shooting it just before dark, and I don't like that either. So whatever, every camera, you need to experiment with it. And that's the fun of doing it. If you're doing it for some other purpose, well, I can't say. I don't know. Of course, I'm not a professional. I don't pretend to be. I pretend to shoot footage because I enjoy sharing it with my friends. I do the bike restorations with the hope that other people doing restorations can pick up some useful information that I've learned over the last 55 years of doing it. In cases like this, I like just looking at the old footage of the rides I've been on. In the middle of the winter when there's snow on the ground, this is some of the footage I play over and over, this washed out footage. But anyway, we did have a good day. That NEATSFOOT oil is a really good trick. I cleaned up all the leathers. We went to the garden center. My God, 4 garden centers in our area have gone out of business. I haven't put their names on the video, but I'll send out an email. There's 4 of the major garden centers have gone belly up. And that's a shame, because that's part of the life that Karen and I share, that I enjoy sharing with her. I know she enjoys sharing it with me, and we enjoy sharing it with you. Even if you have to tough out looking at our plants laying in the driveway. Anyway, I thought this was useful information. I thought this was a good way to present it. And for anybody that's a professional photographer, you already know this. And send me some more tips I can use to make the video more fun to watch. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and of course, thanks for watching.